Hi, my name's Jane. I live in Greater Manchester with my fiance and our two sons. Our eldest son is nearly 5 and he's sighted. Our youngest son, Noah, is nearly 2 and he's registered blind. Noah has severe ocular malformation disorder, which is basically a catch-all term because the structure of his eyes has just not developed properly during pregnancy. He has microphthalmia, so both eyes are small. His right eye is significantly more than his left. He has cloudy corneas, he has cataracts, high pressure, has a cyst on one eye, he has ONH, so his optic nerves are underdeveloped. There's quite a few things, so basically I just tend to tell people that his eyes haven't formed properly during pregnancy. Noah also has a suspected genetic condition. It hasn't been diagnosed yet. He has a hearing impairment, so he can hear at levels just above normal speech. It's classed as a mild to moderate loss, and he wears hearing aids to compensate for that. He also has a condition called hydrocephalus, which is fluid on the brain. So it's where your spinal fluid that circulates from your spine to your brain isn't draining away properly and it's building up in the brain. At 10 months old, he had a drain fitted or a shunt fitted, which regulates the flow. So it's actually increased the flow at the moment so that the excess drains away, and as he gets older, it will just balance out as it should do. Noah's journey probably starts from before he was born, when the antenatal scans were showing that the fluid was accumulating on his brain. But everything at the time, the testing and the information that we were receiving, was suggesting that it was isolated and it probably didn't mean anything. However, neonatal doctors were present at his birth, and after he was born and after you've had your first cuddle, they were examining him thoroughly, and I was still being treated. And I could tell from my fiance's face that something wasn't quite right. So within a couple of hours of Noah being born, he's down on neonatal ward now, and we're being told that they suspect he's got a genetic condition. And when they asked us if we wanted to know their best guess, to which we said yes, and they thought it might be Edwards. So if you know anything about Edwards, most babies don't survive pregnancy. The ones that are born, potentially, they'll probably only live the week. If sometimes it's a month, in very rare cases it's a year. So everything came crashing down that day, and it was an incredibly difficult day, an incredibly emotional day. It took me a very long time for my maternal instincts to kick in and go and see my baby down on the neonatal ward. But there was a lot of tears from both of us, a lot of questions, not knowing how life was going to be, etc. And it was an incredibly emotional day. As the hours went on and they turned into days, it became clear that it wasn't Edwards, and not long afterwards test results came back to confirm that. But then you start to notice Noah's eyes, and they hadn't actually opened the first 2 days he was born. And when he did open them, it was his left eye. And because of the cloudy corneas, you just knew that something wasn't right. He was examined by the ophthalmology department at the hospital, but they said they didn't have all the equipment. They normally check adults' eyes, etc., but they didn't believe he had the full structure of his eye, and they referred us to the eye hospital. And then a few days later, Noah failed his hearing test in hospital, and not long after that he was discharged and he came home. It's a great feeling once he is discharged, because you want your baby home, but suddenly you're home with a baby that you just don't know what the future holds for them. So 3.5 weeks old, that was our first appointment at Manchester Eye Hospital. They did give him a very good examination there. and that's when they told us that he was blind, and they gave us his certificate of visual impairment. It's, as you can imagine, most of these appointments that you're coming away from, you're not getting good news. So every single drive home was heartbreaking. And just feel that sense of feeling completely useless as well, that there's nothing you can do for your child. And you end up on Google and you end up searching different conditions, different treatments, and you start getting hopeful again that there might be something that they can do. So over the coming months, we're still under lots of different professions, but Noah's having his hearing test, and that became a main focus for a long time. And I honestly believed that he would be fine because he could hear, he reacted to noises in the house. So when they told us that actually he's got a hearing impairment too, that's the next time I remember that the rug really was taken from under us and things came crashing down again. And then I think the final time where the final time driving home from an appointment, just in tears from all the bad news, was perhaps the fourth time we went to the eye hospital, and it was the first time I went on my own with Noah. He was 3 months old by that point, just turning 3 months old, and I was talking to the doctor about possible treatments, and she changed a tone, and quite clearly, in a quite sympathetic manner, but quite clearly told me that Noah was blind and there wasn't anything that they could do for his eyes, and the best thing they could do now was just keep his eyes comfortable for him. And now, with more clarity looking back, or certainly on the drive home, I realised she hasn't actually said anything different to me that the other doctors had said. It's just, I think at that point I was ready to listen, and yeah, Noah's blind. So that was a difficult drive home, and obviously I'm on my own and didn't feel I could bother my partner. He was in work, and it was quite an upsetting day when I got back. I managed to get in touch with one of my friends, a mum that I met on neonatal ward whose daughter has Down syndrome. So very early on I had somebody I could speak to who kind of understood what I was going through. We were both looking at genetic conditions. We both didn't have a normal baby, and we just were able to bounce off each other, and that was a massive help for me in the first few months of Noah's life, and still is now, really. The week that Noah actually did turn 3 months old, we were on our first family holiday, and it was bittersweet. It's nice to be away as a family, but it's difficult watching other families and seeing how they interact and not knowing how it's going to work out for you as Noah grows up. Are the kids going to play in the pool in the same way as the other children do, and will Noah be able to run around with his brother and just daft things like that? And that's when I started reaching out. I actually went through Facebook and got in touch with a number of charities. I managed to find a lot of the parent forums, and also a local chat group of other parents whose children around Manchester, whose children are blind and of similar age to Noah, preschool age. And that's what I was desperate to find, somebody I could talk to understand, okay, well, you're just a little bit further down the road than we are, and I want to see how you're doing things, so I know where I need to go with Noah to best support Noah and give him all the opportunities I can. And that was a major turning point for me personally, having people to talk to who knew exactly what we were going through. The group is, despite all the children being registered blind, there's a range of disabilities there. There's children who are registered blind but have some useful vision and wear glasses. There's some children that don't have light perception, and there's some children who have more severe conditions or significant conditions, which not necessarily a disability, but some cases disabilities, some cases learning difficulties and things. But it's been a fantastic group to lean on, because everybody's got some advice. And the unfortunate thing is that there are new families being added to that group all the time as more babies are born and born blind. But it's now a point 18 months on that I can help support some of those families coming in as well. So I think the biggest piece of advice I can give you is that there's no need to go through this all alone. There are lots and lots of charities out there. There's lots of support out there, and just reach out. And even if you think it's just such a silly question, there's no silly questions. There's no question too small, and there's always somebody on any of these parent forums able to answer and help and give you advice. It's it's different life, and I probably should have started with this, but Noah is one of the happiest little boys that I know, and he just brings so much light into a room, and everybody is so, they just want to know how he's doing. You find that a lot of families and friends, they want to know how he's going on. But he's just a special little boy, and he just brings so much joy. So, and yeah, of course, I would obviously prefer it if he could see, but it's just a different path that we're on now. And everything, Noah's QTVI, she says everything is achievable. We need to look at something and see what the objective is, see how a sighted child would get to that objective, and how we need to modify it for Noah. That's just how things are now with life. We just need to see how we need to modify things so Noah can achieve his full potential too. I'm sure there's probably lots of things that I've missed out, but if you've got this far through the video, thank you very much for listening, and I wish you luck, and hopefully one day I'll see you soon at one of the charity events. Thank you.